Well, I'll open up the meeting of June 6th, 2023 at 6:39 p.m. We'll start off by reorganization of the commission, if Pete can hear us.
Yep.
All right. I will nominate Dave Cantwell for chairman.
Was that a motion, Russ?
Do we have a second? I'll make a
I'll
motion.
second.
We elect Dave. Excellent. Any discussion?
Peter
Pete,
McLam.
Say it again.
any
You s-
discussion?
Nope.
All right, roll call vote, Peter.
All right, Mr. Bernard,
Here.
Mr. McLam,
Aye.
Mr. Jennings.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. So I guess, Mr. Bernard, what we're doing is we're reorganizing the board after the election, so we have to elect a chairman, a vice chairman person, and a clerk. The clerk doesn't really have a lot of heavy lifting because we have staff at all the meetings, so the minutes and all that will be taken by staff. But sometimes they do have to sign some stuff as the clerk, but that doesn't happen very often. So the next
And-
position, it will be for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Russ Jennings.
I'll second it.
All right, any
Why not?
discussion? Roll call vote, Peter.
Mr. Bernard,
Aye.
Mr. McLam,
Aye.
and Mr. Jennings.
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, before I nominate anyone for secretary, do we have a volunteer?
I'll volunteer if Mr. Bernard
All
does.
right,
I'm
All
good,
right.
Peter. Go ahead.
all right, I will nominate Peter McLean for secretary.
Second.
Do we have a second? Excellent. All right, any discussion? Roll call vote, Peter.
Mr. Bernard,
Aye.
Mr. McLam,
Aye.
and Mr. Jennings.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, very good. We have a reorganized
well
board.
done. Well
Excellent.
done.
As vice chairman, I'll step in and run the meeting tonight. Is there anyone here for Commissioners' Public Forum?
I don't see anybody. It's just you guys and us.
All right. So next, we have minutes of the water and sewer meeting attached from April 4th, 2023. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes as printed?
I'll make a motion to accept them as printed.
Second.
Roll call vote, Peter.
Mr. Bernard,
Aye.
Mr. McLam,
Aye.
and Mr. Jennings.
Aye. All
Eric,
right.
you might want to abstain seeing you weren't there. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal if you want to approve them, but
Yeah, I honestly wasn't sure if I should second or not because I wasn't
You
sure
can-
if
you
you had
can
the numbers.
yeah, you can second for the formality, but as far as
Yeah.
voting for them, I'd recommend you abstain just because you
Yeah,
can't sign them
agreed.
you can't sign them anyway. So
Yeah.
there'll be 2 votes for and 1 abstention for those minutes, which it'll still pass because that'll be a majority.
All right, next, warrants. Mr. Secretary, what do we have for warrants this month?
I'm grabbing them. Hold on.
Thank you.
I'm literally just jumping in the house.
I think
That
we
was
could
good.
simplify it and just make a motion to accept the warrants as printed. That suffices.
I'd like to make, so I need to make the motion?
Sure.
I'll
please.
make a motion to accept them as written. The warrants.
Do we have a second?
Sorry, you're gonna have to point me to the page in the packet.
Sue just sent it out this afternoon,
Oh, okay. that's
because
different.
the
Alright,
packet
Yep.
goes out Friday and we get some last minute bills.
Got it. So that was the
So-
updated one. It's actually
Correct.
titled updated warrant. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
based
and
on
again,
that. Yeah, based on that, actually, you want to explain what I'm approving on here?
sure, so you're approving us to pay all the invoices that are identified here, so. Again, you'll see the commissioner salaries.
Yep.
Which will be for.
June.
Sue, who are those for?
That is for Eric and Dave.
Okay. And then we have all the invoices for Veolia for everything that's identified. As far as lab testing, emergency services and stuff like that.
Got it.
And then as you look down, you'll see LaForte Electric, they changed out a grinder pump at Stevens Park Road.
Yep.
And then WB Mason, CACL Landscaping does our lawn mowing for the season. Beta, the two Beta invoices are paid. One is from a grant. The PWS services is reimbursed from a grant, and the water modeling is a contract we have with them to model our current water system.
Is
Kirkwood
any,
Direct-
does, oh, sorry.
No, sorry. Go
Does
ahead.
the 96.7, is that within your operating budget or does it
Yes.
exceed? It is,
No,
okay,
yeah, no, this is all within our operating budget.
okay, cool.
sure.
I will second that.
Okay,
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Peter?
Mr. Bernard,
I,
Mr. McLean,
Aye.
and Mr. Jennings.
Aye. All right, moving right on to scheduled appointments, 6:35. Is Vinny in the house?
He
Yes, I
is.
am. Going to be
Welcome,
covering
Vinny.
2 months operating reports tonight. We're going to start with March. So in March, the plant was staffed by myself, Grant Krisiak, and Kurt Hoyle. Health and safety for the month. We did Veolia's inspection report on the 1st. And we introduced the Veolia's life-saving rules to the team. Training, we did fire safety and fire extinguisher safety, as well as compressed gas cylinders, and those were all online training courses. Compliance, there were no exceedances to report. The DMR was completed and entered into the CDX on April 13th. Operations and maintenance, Wright Pierce, Veolia, Nephar, Mahoney were at the plant. They brought some brochures to show us the new headwork screens and discuss different options and how it operated. We bolted down some grating around the splitter box that could have been a tripping hazard. We made a hinge cover so nobody could fall into it as an actual mixer. Comag Train 1 recovery drum had a bearing failure. We removed the drum and determined it needed to be overhauled. We replaced the bearings, the sprockets, the chain, and just kind of rehabbed all the metal around it, stripped it down. It looks brand new again. We ordered a scrap metal hopper that was delivered during the month. We reached out for quotes on valves for the EQ tanks. We got prices from a few different suppliers and ordered those. We made a list of all connected propane equipment for the town. And we showed where the locations and how much consumption of each connected piece of equipment was. The effluent sampler started giving us some inconsistent quantities. We swapped it out with another one we had, and we ordered a brand new replacement. Towards the end of the month, we started having problems maintaining the blankets and the secondary clarifiers. We increased the RAS to correct this issue. Collection system activities. I got the dates wrong on this. The MTA samples were not collected in February for this one. Just give me a second. I want to be accurate. We collected them on March 1st and March 19th. Charlton Oil Company was here. They fueled up all the generators for us. We did the main plant, Burlingame Road, Vine Street, and 6 West. It was a little over 700 gallons of off-road diesel fuel. 73 Lakeview, they reported sewer surfacing around the grinder pump tank. The amount that surface wasn't reportable. Slim Sewer Service was contacted to make the repair. We started cleaning the flow meter. It had grease buildup around the sensor, and we've been doing that pretty much weekly since this. Pump station activities, nothing special. We just did all the weekly rounds and tests we were supposed to. We hauled 9 loads of sludge for the month of March. We got 4 totes of sodium hydroxide. We ordered 4,000 gallons of ferric, but there was some railroad issues, so it was postponed. We also received 1 55-gallon drum of hypo. We use that in the plant water tank to kill off the midge flies. We had a lot of grinder pump calls in the month of March. 208 Sunset had an alarm that cleared itself before we got out there, but we still checked it out. 22 Morton Station Road had a stuck float. 169 Sunset was an old system. And while we're out there, they called for a possible sewer leak. And we checked it. We didn't find it on that visit, but we did find it later. A couple days later, we ended back up at 169 Sunset. And we did find the sewer leak. We contacted Slims to make the repair. We also scheduled Ed LaForte to upgrade the electric system on that. We had another grinder pump call at 43 Burlingame Road. It was a stuck float, and we wired in the redundant run circuit that keeps that float from falling out. We had one more at 21 Highland Ave. It was a trip breaker. We reset it. Everything else tested fine. In the special notes, a meeting was held with Veolia's management team as well as HR to discuss creating a part-time administrative position. The position's idea is to keep all of our paperwork up to date and to do a better job of using the CMMS system. That's the computer maintenance system the town purchased a few years ago. We've populated it, but it's really labor intensive to keep it up to date and utilizing it the way it should be. So with this part-time position, we're hoping that'll be a much better system for us. So that concludes the month of March in 2023. Now I'll be covering April. During the month of April, the plant was fully staffed again by myself, Grant Krisiak, and Kurt Hoyle. Health and safety was a big month in April. April 2nd, we did Veolia's monthly inspection report. We had a wellness activity, which focused on things to be grateful for and to encourage positive thinking. We also had
Did that work?
yes, you can't tell? We had to go over some of the life-saving rules. There's 10 life-saving rules, and every quarter they roll a couple of them out. And this quarter, it's about safe driving. So part of that is the staying out of the path of traffic, seatbelt use with no phone or drug or alcohol use. And to play right along with that, we have the HRMS, which is another Veolia product. And this month it's on traffic management. So there's actually a traffic management checklist we have to do. There's one for on-site and one for when we're working out in the public. The training was on defensive driving and crane and hoist and rigging safety. Compliance for the month. There were no exceedances to report. The DMR was completed and entered into the CDX on May 15th. The DMR QA sample tests were reported. The reported result was for pH. The reading we came up with was a 6.18. The actual assigned value was a 6.19 with an acceptable range of 5.99 through 6.38. So we were pretty much spot on. The operations and maintenance activities for the month. We updated all of the safety data sheets. And we ended up with 3 binders worth instead of 1. So that's nice. They're all clean and up to date. The UV system is online. April's the first month of E. coli testing. The Comag RAS line got plugged up. We had to back flush to clear it. RBC number 2 was making some noise. We pulled the covers off. And that's the one we put the new chain on about a year ago. So the chain was kind of loose. We tightened it up, oiled it. And then we noticed that there's a big bucket mixer on it. And where that was attached was worn out. So it would grab a bucket of sample to just kind of mix. And the bucket would shift around on its mount. We ended up taking the bucket off because no other RBCs have it, just that one. So that's back in service now. The Comag train mag recovery drum was overhauled. We kind of finished it during April. We started it in March. It was a big project. That drum probably weighs 700 pounds. It's not like a little bucket we picked up. It's large. So again, we cleaned all the surfaces and made everything look like new. There's a weir that one of the trains has inside that this one didn't. So we added that weir in to help direct the magnetite to the drum. Comag train 2 had a couple of strange things going on. 2 times during the month, we ended up with this strange floating blanket. It was really thick sludge, but it wasn't on the bottom of the clarifier. It was in the middle. So we found a way to get rid of it was to just take a sump pump with a piece of PVC and a T and drop it right into it and mix it up and then pump it back through the sludge pump. During a weekly generator test at the plant, 2 VFDs tripped out and they actually tripped the breakers. Normally that's a bad sign. We don't play with them. It's high voltage electricity. So we called in the professionals at LaFleur Electric. They came in, they did a little troubleshooting, nothing was shorted. So they reset the breakers and made sure everything was working good. We made a visitor's brochure for the plant, and that's now located at the front office. We can hand them out to any visitors that are interested. We created a standard operating procedure for the sludge tank monitoring and tracking. So 1 time per week, we'll take samples and get an actual solid reading of each tank. And then we'll know which tank's ready to go out next. We've always had a pretty good idea and we ran samples. We just didn't have anything on paper with a standardized procedure. So this here will be a little more standardized and easier for other people to follow. Let's see. The team built a safety wall. So Veolia's push is getting really big on safety this year. So we built a safety wall and it kind of somewhere for everybody to get the fresh information. So every couple of days they send out these little safety briefs. So I post them up there so the staff can be current. And they apply to what's going on around us at the time, like pollen, bee stings, poison ivy, like all the things we're running into this time of year. They send these safety briefings out every day. So the Veolia technical and performance team, they reviewed that 60% upgrade that Wright Pierce is working on, and they didn't see anything in there that would cause an issue. We also installed the new sign at the plant's entrance so people can find us. It's been here for a while, but we finally got around to digging some holes and putting poles in and actually mounting it. We purchased some new hoses and cam lock fittings so we can connect the trash pump out back and use it to wash the clarifiers. During the summer, the algae builds up really fast, and it's just not good to have large amounts of algae built up. They break free and they go down into the process where we don't want them. So if we can hose them off and waste them out when we're expecting it, it's better for our process. The collection system activities on April 6th and 17th, the MTA samples were collected at the pump stations. All the weekly tests were completed. 6 West had a phone line issue again. And the day of the phone line issue, the sump pump tripped a breaker and pump 1's mechanical seal was leaking really bad. When I went out to the site, the water in the basement was about 5 feet deep. So I called Slims up, they came and sucked out all the water from the basement. Verizon showed up later on that day around 5:30. They fixed the phone line. And they explained that the phone line's bad over near the Mass Pike. Because there's so few customers on it, they just keep switching around what lines they're using. So the lines are really bad in that area, but there's not enough demand for them to upgrade it. So now that we're on the new system, we're good, but this is at the very end of the phone line there. Let's see. LaFleur was out to check out the pump stations and get their supplies list so they could install those new cell phone dialers. And by the end of the month, they were well underway on installing those dialers. Route 20 pump station upgrade, we reached out to a bunch of different vendors looking for all the equipment we wanted. I got quotes from them and we sent them along to the engineers for Amazon and the other development, and we'll see what they come back with. We hauled 8 loads of sludge out of the plant. We ended up with 4 totes of sodium hydroxide 25%. I had previously stated that we ordered 4,000 gallons of ferric. Because of the railroad issues, we only received 2,000 gallons of ferric chloride. That's fine for our plant. It just, we'll have to order soon. And during the month, Kurt Hoyle submitted his 2 weeks notice. And that concludes the MOR for April. Any questions?
Thank you, Vinnie.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Vinnie before we go?
I do
Or
not.
he goes? All right. Well, thank you, Vinnie. I guess we'll move right into Beta at 6:50.
So attached to the agenda packet, we have a draft final version of the water system model update that Beta has prepared for us. So kind of just to give Eric some background information, our water distribution system has been expanded from the town of Southbridge over the last, say, 8 to 10 years. So it's kind of grown a little bit from a single feed system. And 3 years ago, ExxonMobil did a big water line project around Old Worcester Road and down to the schools. We call it the school loop. And before they did that, we knew our system didn't operate super effectively. But it was their extension, their water line extension was approved anyways because it was dealing with contaminated properties and contaminated wells in that area. And since that system has been up and running, we're having some pressure issues, pressure fluctuations and pressure losses at certain, I guess the biggest, the most sensitive spot is the Bay Path School. And in their design, they have a special, not a special, but a dedicated pump station for the Bay Path School itself. And in the past, since the system has been operational, that runs out of water pressure. So it sometimes the school runs out of water depending on what happens throughout the rest of our system. So ExxonMobil paid to put that water line in. The town, the Water Sewer Commission has not accepted ownership of that line yet. So we hired Beta to do a full water system model of the existing system and the new water line that was installed by ExxonMobil to get us a better understanding of what's happening and maybe what we can do to fix it or or present to ExxonMobil for improvements they need to do before we accept the water
Got it.
line they installed. So again, this report is about 20 pages longer, but a lot of that is just data that kind of doesn't really, I don't think, gives much valuable information to us. So I just put together the first 7 pages, which has, a lot of the background, the work that Beta did, and also the recommendations that they suggest with a estimated cost scenario for one of the scenarios. So Andy Dennehy from Beta is here to kind of talk about what went into putting the report together and answer any questions that we might have. So I'll turn it over to Andy. And Andy, if you just want to kind of, give us the 30,000 foot overview of kind of what was done and where we ended up.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time on this model. Your system is very sensitive. It took us a little bit to get the model to match your system. But we did do that, and we've modeled 3 scenarios. The first is just as is, the Hammond tank is online, looked at water rage and the pressure transients that you're dealing with. The second was using the Charlton tank that is currently not online, but doing nothing else to the system other than just adjusting those elevations within the tank. And then third scenario, and we did more than 3 scenarios, but these are the ones that we've chosen to include in the report, which is that Charlton tank online, but modifying a little bit of the system to reactivate that 12-inch that's already in place between Northside Road and Old Worcester Road, and then a dedicated inlet and outlet to that tank. And that seemed to make the biggest difference, that dedicated line. So we looked at water rage, we looked at pressure transients. They seem to kind of play against each other. But that third scenario seemed to help with your pressure transients. And if we do a mixing system or we chlorinate at that tank, it seems like that's your best scenario. So if you read the report, you're going to see all these scenarios. I think the last time we spoke, you also wondered about fire flows.
Yes.
In that scenario that we're recommending, it's a better situation with fire flows. It's a better situation with water rage. And I also think you can do this in a phased approach. So I don't know who's had time to look at the report and kind of go through it, but that is, we think, your best option to solve some of your issues. So we've only looked at, from a cost scenario, that third option. So, and it's about a total of $1.8 million. I think you can phase it, and Pete and I have discussed that. But that is kind of where we are now. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. I know some of you have read the report and have looked at it, but I'm not sure who, if there are any other questions. Or if I have,
I'll do some Bush League questions. So like when you say fire flow, do you mean the pressure will be adequate on the fire hydrants on the school loop?
Correct, yes. So
Got
fire flow is gallons per minute.
Yeah.
Not necessarily pressure.
Okay,
You want to get a certain flow out. Now, pressure and flow are related. But you want to get a certain amount of flow out of a fire hydrant. If a fire
Yep.
truck goes up and doesn't have pressure, they have the flow. And they could add pressure if they need to.
okay, so, yeah, so where you don't have gallons per flow, but you're saying scenario 3, you have data where the fire hydrants, because right now the fire hydrants in the school loop aren't usable for fire, right?
Correct.
Okay, but with scenario 3 at completion, it should be?
They will be usable, yes. They won't
Yes.
have they won't have the best fire flow, but they will be usable.
Correct.
Meaning
Which is a
that
step
it
above today.
Oh,
Correct.
it's a great step above
Yeah.
today, because right now,
Yes.
if they connect to that, then the pressure in that system goes to 0.
Yeah.
For quite a few homes. Where now with that blue tank, because of its location and because of its size, that should not happen.
Got it. So then you've got pressure in scenario 3 and then profile distance. What is an average system? I'm assuming somewhere in here there'd be like an average line that says this is what we typically shoot for as an average, like I mean, give me like for a house, what's a typical PSI?
So you don't want, if you get above 100 PSI, you're talking about installing in that house a pressure reducing valve to keep the plumbing systems okay. You don't want to fall below 40 PSI generally. If there's a fire and there's a hydrant open, you don't want to fall below 20.
Got it.
So
okay.
everybody can agree that, all right, we lost pressure at our house to 20 PSI, but they're fighting a fire and
Yep.
we're okay. So it's between 40 and 100.
Is your gold zone.
That's what you want to do. Correct.
Yep. So it looks like, it looks like your, 40 to 100 goes out to about, you're past 14,000. Does that have an impact on houses in the loop at all or anywhere else in the system? So I'm assuming like, you've got 0 pressure when you're at 16,000 feet. Are there water outlets at close to 16,000 feet on the line? I'm assuming that's what that means.
I'm not sure where you're looking. Which
Um,
table?
Page
Are you looking
4,
at figure 1?
figure 2, actually.
So these are
But they
the
both-
pressure transients. Yes.
Right. And I was looking at the feet, so and again, if this is a bad assumption, let me know. When you're getting out there to feet, you're at 16,000 profile distance. I'm assuming that means the pressure goes down the further you are on the line away from the tank.
Yeah, these are the transients, which is the difference in pressure and not necessarily the pressure in the system, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So meaning you have a variable in pressure closer to the tank
Closer
and
to
the
the
check
tank.
valves that we're talking about. And the transients, so that's a difference in pressure.
Got
So
it.
as you head to 0, it's better.
It's actually got it. Okay. It's actually more
so
stable.
This isn't the
Got it, okay.
pressure away from something. It's just that's how when it gets quiet.
Yep.
Right. So
That's
you
perfect.
your system fluctuates in pressure quite a bit.
Yeah,
And
I got
so
it.
so you're calming that transient as you get further away.
Got it. Thanks for the clarification. That
Yeah,
helps.
it can be it can be confusing.
Perfect. Again, sorry for all the questions, but
No, I'm happy to answer them. This
Good
has been
data.
a fun
Yeah.
project for us. Pete knows it was a tough nut to crack. I think we did. So we've had fun. if you're
So-
a hydraulic geek like me, so.
So when
um,
we talk about scenario 3, just to kind of break down what's gonna be done.
Yes, yeah. yep, yeah.
There's already. The only new infrastructure as far as lines being installed would be for the dedicated inlet into that tank. Cross country across the property from H Putnam Road over to the tank to do it as designed. When Andy talks about phasing it, I think, and talking with Andy and Chris, we can maybe just put the check valve or a swing gate valve on Stafford Street at the intersection of H Putnam like we talked about, and use that to help control the flow up to the tank. Put the rechlorination system at the tank so that water there is retreated, so our water age somewhat resets to 0.
Yep,
And then the only other thing we would need to do to be able to get true directional flow around the school loop, and talking with Steve at Whitewater and Southbridge, would be to add a valve, a shut-off valve, a gate valve, and a small piece of pipe connecting 2 pipes together on North Main Street. So I think that might be where we start
yep,
to try and see how much improvement we get. And again, don't forget, there's the other layer of this is Southbridge and Whitewater also have to agree to these improvements also because they operate the system. So we did have a joint meeting with them, with the new DPW director there, with Beta to go over this report. So they have this in their hands and they're reviewing it as well. And hopefully from, moving on from tonight, we can say, this is final form. This will no longer be a draft. If the commission doesn't have any questions or concerns about what's presented. And then we can share this with, we can revisit this with Southbridge and try and get them on board to go ahead and say, yes, scenario 3 with those modifications that we talked about is the correct way to move forward. And then we can go ahead and talk about the best ways to get that work completed. So,
I think that's a great outline, Peter, and just somewhere along the lines, maybe being is that Eric is brand new to the commission, he needs to have a conversation, little history lesson about the system in ExxonMobil and all of that, so that he can be aware of all the facts moving forward. So whether it's one-on-one with another member or yourself.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd
I know
be willing
Pete,
to-
you and I, oh, sorry,
you.
Russ. I know you, Pete, you and I talked a little bit about that. Yeah, we could probably do a deeper dive.
Again, I think as this stuff comes to light during meetings and stuff, if I definitely ask whatever questions you have, but if you have any follow-up questions tomorrow or anything comes to mind, just, shoot me an
Yeah.
email, or if you want to come to the plant, we can go over some plans and you can kind of see where the system is, or I can forward you some information there also. So you can
Okay.
kind of see it on paper and stuff like that, and we can kind of.
yeah, and we'd be happy to come out as well, if it helps, we could bring the model and show you, anything if that helps.
I think your model is great, Andy, and I think you guys have done a great job of identifying where we need to go. I was more or less just referring to the direct path of where we're going, and not necessarily with the model, just how
Yeah.
we financially do where we're going to go with this, and that's
Gotcha.
that's
Yep.
probably the biggest question at this point in time.
Yep.
And that involves, in my mind, the engineering company that promised us that there would be no situation. They would resolve the water age issue by putting Masonic Home as the end user. And then this was all under the package umbrella of ExxonMobil taking care of this situation that they themselves created. That's the history that needs to be. Oh, do you get that?
Yep.
All right.
So I
well,
guess, if there's no other questions about the report and the water model itself, Andy, I guess we can just put it into final form,
Sure, okay,
right? And then
Yep.
we'll kind of be good to go.
okay,
And yeah, thank you for all the work on this and, going back and forth. We definitely took a couple different iterations to get here and looked at
Yeah.
it, a lot more than what's just in this report, but I
right,
think this is a great summary. It shows where we're at, what we're facing, and why we need to kind of make some improvements.
yep,
So,
good, okay, so,
Excellent.
like I said, we're supporting you guys and anything you need, we're happy
Yep.
to do that. So I'll finalize this, Pete.
Yep.
And then get it to you, and if there's any questions, we're here to answer those.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
guys,
Thanks again for all the help. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Yep, bye.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, moving on, new business. Peter, run down the water privilege fee at 166 Worcester Road for us, please.
Ooh, sorry, I have to recuse myself on that because it has to do with property I own, which is why it's on here. So, again, the water privilege fee is there for you guys to review, and there's also some information from my engineer to explain what's what. And, yeah,
And
so I
what do
will-
you ask? What are you asking of the board?
I'm just asking for the board to verify that what's been done goes with our water privilege fee policy. To make sure that I didn't try and sneak anything by because I'm the chair, because I'm on the superintendent.
And
So,
what is board at this point in time?
What was that?
Is there a motion necessary, or you're just presenting this?
I guess I'm just asking the board to look at it, make sure everything was done correctly and that everything was done above board. So like I said, the information's there as far as the water privilege fee policy and the information from my engineer about the property. So it
Yep.
should be pretty self-explanatory. So I'll just recuse myself at this time and you guys can discuss it and kind of move
Yep.
forward.
So this
All right.
in essence is verifying the betterment fee is accurate based on other properties similar size and makeup.
I personally don't have any questions, and I don't know. Do you guys have any questions or concerns with this?
I do not.
I'm reading the documents, but I just want to make sure. So how do so I'm reading the documents. I see the fee. How do I know it compares to like situations from a square footage, infrastructure, all that fun stuff?
If you look at the next page, it's from his engineer that breaks down.
Is that
Every-
31 or is that
It's an email.
the email further up?
Yeah,
I got it. Okay.
So he did the calculations.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
I believe the next page is the breakdown listing the betterment or privilege fee that was paid.
By other addresses. Yeah.
It's highlighted that specific property and the dollar
Yep.
amount.
No, in my head, I was comparing it to the other properties on there, and it's pretty wide range, right? Like 2447 is typical, but one of them's at 23.5.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that property is.
Which one are you referring to?
Looks
Um,
like 0 Worcester Road is the 23.570. Am I reading that right?
Was that the old water testing location, Peter? I'm not sure exactly what that is myself, but
All right, that's all right. So then just a quick, so most of them on here are at a flat rate of the 2447.16,
Mhm.
but the 8710, that's, make sure I got it right. That's calculated based on the email above, right?
So
Am I
what,
getting that right?
what that property paid
Yeah.
is 3.5 times of
Yeah.
what? Okay, so
But I guess why is it 3.5 times?
that I don't know.
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
I don't know how that number came. That was before me.
Does anyone know why it's 3.5 times? Is that based on?
I'm not sure what was there when that betterment was assigned. I don't know what kind of building was there.
This is
I
the
wanna
new
say-
CrossFit building?
I want to say there was a water quality testing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's still there. It's next to the new CrossFit building. That's it, yeah, advanced water quality systems or something.
There was a gym there as well.
Was there a
Yeah,
gym
we
there?
did.
There wasn't there a hotel as well?
Oh, that's down the road, I think. That's where the mini golf is now, right? Well, yeah, it is mini golf now.
No, there might have been one here.
I
Right,
on
think
and
that
so.
one there
property.
too? Okay,
A long time
Yep.
ago.
all right, so that might,
This is a very similar situation as, what's the gym all the way down the end, not the gym, way
The
down
other
by the.
CrossFit?
Scarborough. It's not a CrossFit. It's,
Oh. the one by the Highland, the townhouses down near the Sturbridge line, Route 49.
correct.
Got it. Okay.
So if, I mean, in the past, what we did there is, you know, the owner requested this, and then we did, we monitored it to see that it was indeed, because at the time we had no relative data, and you know, just to come up with the water usage to make sure that everything was all set. He actually kept track of it, and it was, you know,
Yep.
minuscule.
So you,
Very
yeah,
similar.
sir. I think I get it. So you're using the commercial water connection paragraph where it actually gets into, it's 2447 times a calculated EDU. So, okay. So again, sorry to ask so many questions, but yep, I think I get it now.
All right.
Do we need to motion to approve, or is it just review and okay? Because it's not technically a motion.
Yeah, it's more for informational purposes, and just it was brought before the commission, acknowledged, and that's pretty much it. There was no
Got it.
questions or concerns regarding the property and the situation.
Okay.
So, all right. If no one else has any further questions or concerns, performance evaluation. Peter, are you back with us, or are you recusing yourself from this one too?
I might. All right, so performance evaluation, it's an annual evaluation that HR and the town administrator wants us to complete. So the form is attached. I just wanted to kind of just present it to you guys, and maybe we can go over it if you wouldn't mind filling these out and submitting them to Sue for me. She'll just average everything out and put the comments together, and we can discuss it at our next meeting.
So this one, I need to abstain from, right? Because, I mean, I could do it based on today's meeting,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
Yes,
so again, it's really,
As
it-
always, we'll fill this out and get that back to you, Peter.
okay, so yeah, like I said, if you guys wouldn't mind, I'll get Dave a copy, but if you and Peter wouldn't mind just kind of filling this out
Sure.
and submitting it to Sue, that'd be great. And then, like I said, we'll average it out and put it in front of you guys, hopefully for approval at the next meeting.
Excellent.
All right,
Not a
that-
problem.
that's all we have.
All right, next meeting.
Next meeting will be July 11th, after the 4th. Unless anybody has any
Very good.
objections to that.
I do not.
I'm good not having it on the 4th, so the 11th
Right.
works.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent.
All right,
Um,
and with, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion
Second.
to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Oh, second,
All right,
Roll
roll
call.
call vote.
all right, Mr. Bernard,
I,
Mr. McLam,
Aye.
and Mr. Jennings.
Aye.
All right.
Great.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you,
Thank
guys.
you, everybody. Have a good night.
To,
thank,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, welcome, Eric.
thanks, see ya.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Night.